Hello and welcome to AT&T Stadium, site of the 2025 Cotton Bowl. Well, the 2025 Cotton Bowl Part 2, I guess. Ohio State, once again, going to be involved in the 2025 Cotton Bowl on the final day of 2025. I'm Tom Orr, here on the field at AT&T Stadium, joined by Tony Gerdeman of Buckeye. Tony, we knew as soon as we hit record, they were going to start rehearsing the national anthem. Congratulations, they're rehearsing the national anthem. We don't have to stop talking because it's just rehearsal. It doesn't really count.
I'm torn. This is rehearsal. Are we supposed to stop? Or we could. This is practice. Right? We're talking about practice.
Yes, no one else seems to be stopping, so we are going to power through here. You know the words. Sing along at home if you'd like to. But so we are here on the field at Gerdeman. Buckeyes are going to be here according to the official schedule, which I'm going to grab off of my phone right now. The Buckeyes are scheduled to arrive here in about, give or take, 10 minutes or so. Now, when we came in, and that was 2 hours ago, there was already a whole mess of traffic. So they will have a police escort, but you're 2 hours closer to kickoff, so we'll see. Here's our plan. When the Buckeyes get here, I will run over there and give you a look at the guys as they're coming out on the field. The Ohio State locker room is just down the tunnel right that way. The Miami locker room just down the tunnel that way. Miami is scheduled to get here in about 30 minutes. Okay. So that's the sort of plan of attack right now. How will it work? Well, everything goes smoothly on these live broadcasts, especially when we try and do something clever and creative. But so let's, I guess, start with sort of setting the scene. As you were saying earlier, and someone behind you was saying a little earlier, it is a little warm in here.
It is a little warm in here. I hope for the Buckeyes' sake, they've been practicing indoors and turning the heat up. I believe they have actually been turning the heat up in the Woody. Miami probably just practicing as normal.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since the Buckeyes have been on the field. They've been hydrating, I'm sure, since I don't know what day this is, but at least a week ago, they've been drinking their Gatorades and their waters and all of those things like that, so that there are no cramping issues or whatever. But I don't know, is it 75 degrees in here?
Right. It's probably in the low 70s, but there's no one in here right now. So usually when you get more people in here, then the temperature goes up a few degrees. I don't want to oversell this. You're not going to have people passing out on the field or anything like that. We have seen guys with cramps in a couple bowl games at places where it wasn't necessarily 95 degrees and super humid, but we'll just kind of keep an eye on that. As for the rest of it, this is, Ohio State has played here 2 years in a row. This is the third year in a row now for the Buckeyes to be here. I would imagine that there is a certain advantage to just sort of being familiar with the surroundings. We sort of see that in our experience, just, hey, it's the same hotel we've stayed in 2 years in a row. It's the practice, we know how long the shuttle is going to be, all that kind of stuff. I would imagine that's probably true for the Buckeyes as well.
Yeah, this is customary now. They've done this now. It's like, well, back at the Cotton Bowl, we know where we're going, know how long it takes to get there. They understand the traffic by this point, and it's Ryan Day talks about the routine. I guess they probably have a routine for the Cotton Bowl now, and they're able to maintain that. And they'll be here. They'll get going. They'll get in the locker room. They'll get ready to go. I see that people are. There's a complaint about the audio, so I don't know if we just want to.
How well? Okay, so one person is saying the video is choppy, another one is saying the video is okay.
All right. Well,
so is it? Let us know. Is it like it's a little quiet, or is it that you can't hear us, or is it that hey, they're singing the national anthem right behind us, and that also can mess with us? Mike Farino, Super Chat, says, how's it going, guys? I know it's early, but have you gotten a sense yet for what the fan split would be?
Well, talking with a ticket broker person in charge of that sort of thing, he was saying 70-30 Ohio State. Now, we've not been out anywhere to see fan bases, but from what I've heard from other people, that's about the breakdown that they're seeing. I did see one group of Miami fans tailgating. I did not see an Ohio State fans tailgating on the way in. I don't know if that means anything. Probably not. But, a whole bunch of Ohio State fans. And the fact that you can still get in here early, Tom, I think you'll see some Texas A&M fans, some TCU fans. I don't know about Texas.
Yeah, Texas,
maybe they'll
Texas
be
playing a different football game today.
But that game's going to be over by the time this one starts.
Sure.
But, if you want to roll in for $25, you can at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And
I would assume the fact that there are a lot of tickets available still. There were 700 something pairs of tickets left on StubHub when I looked kind of lunchtime today. And that would seemingly favor Ohio State, because Ohio State certainly has a bigger alumni base in the DFW area than Miami does. I mean, Ohio State obviously a much bigger school, but also this is a spot where a lot of Ohio State people would tend to come. They're generally well represented when they play here. And if you're an Ohio State fan who's sort of on the on the fence about, do I want to go, do I not want to go? I live 20 minutes from here. Oh, sure, what the heck? I can get in for $25. Why not? So, I would not anticipate the crowd split being lower than 70-30. And the guy you talked about, you talking about the secondary market, right?
I don't know who he was. I don't know that he's secondary. I think he's full official side.
Okay.
So I don't imagine the secondary changing much in the direction of Miami.
No, probably not. And the other thing is, Ohio State fans have had a little bit of a head start coming to this game, where they knew as of December 6th or whatever it was, the day after the Big Ten championship game, that they were going to be here. Miami fans, a lot of them have already made the trip to Texas once over the last couple of weeks. Then presumably, are you getting back on an airplane going to the same place, or are you deciding, well, we'll wait for the Fiesta Bowl and go back then? So we will see, but that'll be answered. Will they turn the music on as soon as we start recording? Of course, that one we knew before we would even start. So, all right, so that's sort of a little bit of a setting of the scene. If you want to get a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at field level, I shot a behind-the-scenes video earlier that will be in crisp 4K, no problem, cleanly narrated with no music player in the background. You can find that on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle, if you want a little more behind-the-scenes stuff. So that's that. Now let's talk a little bit about the football game.
Yeah.
Iowa beats... No, sorry, different football game. Okay. Buckeyes and Hurricanes. I know. Every game you can say, well, boy, it really comes down to who wins in the trenches. But in this game, boy, Tony, it sure feels like it's going to come down to who wins in the trenches.
Well, that's because that's Miami's best opportunity and their most viable path to winning this game. And without that, if they don't win that, they don't win.
Yeah.
Now, they can win that and still not win the game.
Right, yeah.
But if they don't win the trenches, they don't win this game. If they don't win the trenches, they need Ohio State to play really poorly.
Yeah.
They need Julian Sand to throw 3 interceptions. They need fumbles from Ohio State.
Yeah.
It can't just be losing in the trenches and then there's nothing else that they could do. Ohio State, we've talked about this all week. If Ohio State could just keep things the same, like neutral, they're going to have enough skill and talent and plays made over the course of the game to win it. If Miami isn't winning things, then it's going to be very difficult. And it starts up front. And if either side of the ball, if they're getting pushed around on either side, they're going to have a tough time. And they need to win one of those in order to win this game. I don't know that they need to win both clearly.
Yeah.
Like you win one and there's a stalemate on the other.
Yeah, that's probably okay. If either team wins one side of the ball and there's a stalemate in the other, you're probably in decent shape to win the game. But man, oh man, it just feels like Miami has to. Ohio State can probably win it without winning the turnover battle, without making some enormous play on special teams, without dominating in the trenches on one side of the ball or the other. It just feels like Ohio State, we can use the phrase pass to victory a lot more. I feel like John King on CNN, like pointing to the map of Bucks County, Pennsylvania or something. But it just feels like we are having a patriotic, unintentionally patriotic pregame show.
You're really going to talk over this?
Yeah, listen, Gettysburg is pretty far from here. So this is really like the music. You can just your brain can sort of filter it out. Like Lincoln, man.
I like how you're like, boy, this Gettysburg Address is really annoying.
I said patriotic. That's what I said. So anyway, and they are going to. And just so you know what's going on, we are still more than 2 hours away from the game, which means the gates aren't opening. So what they're doing right now is all the pregame stuff. So they're going to run through all the pregame show. I think they're done. They've cleared the field with all the people doing the pregame stuff. But now they're going to test. They will test the ref mic at some point. They will test the PA system. They will test the replay, all that stuff. So you're just going to hear a bunch of people talking and the music blaring, and it's just this is what pregame generally is. So
we will power through.
We will power through. All right. So speaking of John King of CNN, as I was 5 minutes ago, that's the victory in this game. It feels like Miami has to win. Miami has to, in order to slow Ohio State's offense down, they have to get to the quarterback. They have to stop the run game. Ohio State, I'm struggling to see outside of real edge cases where Miami's +2, +3 in turnovers or block a field goal for a touchdown or whatever, something like that. Something where something significant happens. I'm struggling to see a way that Miami can win the game without doing that, without really winning there. Whereas Ohio State, it feels like, well, Ohio State can win a rock fight if they have to. They would prefer to not play another 13-10 game, but they can win a 17-13 kind of game. But they can also, if one of the teams gets into the 30s, I think Ohio State loves their chances. It feels like there's more ways Ohio State can win, and Miami has to follow the Indiana script pretty closely.
And Miami showed that they can win a rock fight as well. They did it against Texas A&M as the music continues behind us. Yeah. But Ohio State, they've had the one close game of late. It did not go well for them. So, I wonder what happens if things are close in the fourth quarter and you start getting that thought process going in your head. You start getting concerned. Whereas Miami, that's where they want Ohio State. Yeah, where it's like Ohio State starts to doubt themselves, and maybe that slows them down. That forces a mistake. Because I think mistakes by Ohio State are key. Because I don't know that Miami wins this if they don't have a turnover thing. I think they need at least +1 in the turnovers, and maybe that's a short field for them.
Yeah, that turnover. The turnover is obviously good because it takes a drive away from the opponent. And if the opponent has a long drive, then you're taking points off the board. And if the opponent has a short drive and turns it over, then you're winning field position or you're running it back for a touchdown or whatever, and you're setting your offense up. I just saw someone saying that if Julian, Woody says if Julian can avoid the first quarter pick and starts in a groove, it's hurt. If Ohio State can get in a rhythm and on offense early, and I think if they can get in a rhythm, then they can maybe use a little bit of tempo like we saw SMU do against Miami. You pick up a first down and then boom, you hustle the line. You trap Miami's defense on the field. You maybe keep them a little off balance. If Ohio State can kind of get the ball rolling early, they could really get it rolling. But it has not been easy for them to get the ball rolling the last couple of games.
And now you've got Ryan Day as the play caller, who before he was head coach or before he handed off the reins, he was one of the best play callers in the nation. And so now he's got an opportunity to put the Hurricanes into a blender, get that defense going, and remind people of who he used to be as the play caller. And they've gone to more conservative over the last year or two because of the playoff system needs that they have. And so now, Ryan Day, you're in the playoffs. What does he dial up? How is it easy for him to get back on the play calling bike? Can he just do what he used to do? And he's got the quarterback for it. He's got the receivers for it. Does he have the running game for it? We'll see. But certainly, if you've got the offensive line, you can make some of those plays happen. Dial them up in midweek, designing them, you're putting things together, you're waiting for that coverage. And then once you get it, boom, you attack.
Well, and the offensive line is an interesting piece of this because it feels like they've probably had the same offensive line all year. They really haven't had the injury issues that they did last year on the line. So that's been good. But you do have an injury in this game. And Cristobal, the right guard, he's been listed as doubtful. We are not expecting him to play in this game. And if he does not play in this game, then you have Gabe Van Sickle making his first career start. And the good news, bad news is, well, you're not going to have a defense that's going to run a lot of the twists and stunts that we've seen Indiana had a ton of success with earlier in the month. But you're also going up against some really, really talented. You would love this to be a Purdue defensive line or a Rutgers defensive line, not a defensive line with a pair of potential first rounders at defensive end that you're going up against.
But Ohio State can see what's in front of them and deal with it. That's great. But the guys that are across from them are the best that they've faced all season long. So this will be their biggest challenge, the biggest individual challenge, biggest individual matchups where you've got a lot of one-on-ones. Guys take pride in that, not losing those one-on-ones. But also, it will be interesting to see how well You have Philip Daniels can leave Gabe Van Sickle alone, not worry about him. How much Carson Hinson can leave Gabe Van Sickle alone and not worry about him. But if things start going poorly there, then you've got to figure that out. And you've got to figure that out without sacrificing what your center is doing, without sacrificing what your right tackle is doing. So that's going to be interesting to watch. I'm interested to see how much Miami attacks him at right guard.
I'm sure that they're going to be going right after him. And it's like when you see a cornerback go out and they you bring in a freshman hey, listen, it's just going to be a couple plays. The opposing offensive coordinator is looking and going, that guy, we're throwing at that guy right now on this first play. You see that constantly. They've had a little bit of time where it's been broadly suspected that it was going to be Gabe Van Sickle's first career start. And now there's also a decent amount of film out there on him from other games where he's played reasonably well, but you also have, you have probably some tells, you have some, all the little stuff you can pick up from film study that's out there. This is not, you're going up against a quarterback you've never seen on film before, so you have no idea what to expect. That'll be certainly a little bit of a challenge. And that's something that could have a little bit of a spillover effect into the running backs, into the tight end, where, hey, you've got to change your personnel, and you can't play as much 11 because you need to have Will Kasmerick out there to help as a blocker, as a tight end. You need to play more C.J. Donaldson because C.J. Donaldson is better in pass pro than Bo Jackson, whatever it is. It feels like that if there are questions or concerns along the offensive lines, that can have some spillover effects in places other than they can't run the ball or they can't protect you with the same.
Yeah, and how much do they even try running to the right?
Yeah.
Do they avoid that entirely? Maybe they've got Gabe Van Sickle pulling, or when they do run to the right, they're pulling Luke Montgomery or a tackle over there to help things out. I do wonder how left-handed they become in the running game. Or maybe that's what Gabe Van Sickle does best. And so it's like, well, let's do what he does best, which is just go get the guy across him.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's more of that. But it's going to be interesting to watch what happens there. And we talk about that, but Philip Daniels has to hold up. Austin Searveld, they have to hold up against that pass rush, which is going to be the best they've seen individually this season. Now, when they play against the best guys they've seen, whether it's Colin Simmons or Michigan's Derek Moore, they've done well. They've held up. And you didn't really hear Colin Simmons' name in the Texas game against Ohio State. You've not really seen anybody just handle Austin Searveld this year. So that's going to be one of the better matchups, whether it's Akeem Messidor or Ruben Bain against Searveld, because obviously that's the blind side. But if one of those guys gets neutralized, that's a win for Ohio State as well.
Yeah, and I'm just looking to see. It does not look like they have the Buckeyes have arrived yet. So they are, in fact, seemingly running a little late, which is not a big surprise given the traffic situation. And Ohio State was scheduled to arrive about 20 minutes earlier than Miami, so they have a little more time.
What if they arrive at the same time, Tom?
Well, so the way the layout is here, there is basically a ramp down from the street. If you've ever been here, it's on the side with the Walmart, the famous Walmart next door to Jerry World. There is a ramp into like an underground sort of loading dock area. I mean, similar setup to a lot of stadiums. And then it's going to be, I think they said 6 buses coming between the two teams. I believe it was 3 buses each team. And so they're going to have to come down, and then they're pulling, and they pull around the sort of oval hallway around the stadium. I was at the pregame, the photographers meeting that they had yesterday, where they were talking through all the logistics of the day. And they basically said, we spaced it out 20 minutes. We really hope they don't arrive at the same time, because otherwise you're going to have people sitting on buses and waiting to get the buses in and then get through the tunnel. And, if the team that's coming,
bus driver fights.
Yeah, well, and if the team that gets here slightly before is the team whose locker room is closer, then the other team has to wait. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of logistical mess, and they do their best to plan around it, but no plan survives first contact with the enemy. No plan survives first contact with the FW trap. So we talked a little bit about the offensive line. I think we could talk a little about the run game for Ohio State. I think we should set expectations here. Miami and Ohio State are both top 10 nationally. Miami might be 11, but basically Miami and Indiana are essentially the same in terms of yards per carry allowed this season. Ohio State is a little better than those two teams. But I'm not expecting either team to be able to run the ball a whole heck of a lot in this game, which then What kind of impact does that have on Ohio State's ability to run the RPO? If the run's not a threat, how much does that mitigate the threat of the pass?
Well, and how much running is a threat? Is 3 yards to carry a threat? That's because I'm thinking these two teams are probably like if I were to tell you both of these teams are going to be between 80 and 120, 25 yards rushing. If you're putting like a squares, if you're betting squares or whatever, like I think you'll see both of them in between there, and anybody that is outside of that, you're increasing your odds of winning. But yeah, I'm not expecting anything that doesn't include a big hit to inflate those numbers. And that may happen. You're going to have two pretty fresh teams here, two fast teams. Now, Mark Fletcher's not necessarily a guy who will go the distance.
Yeah.
But if you get out leveraged, you saw Jordan Marshall go 37 yards against Ohio State. You saw Indiana go 38 yards with Keelan Black.
Yeah.
So it's an Ohio State defense that has not given up big plays, but they've given up some big plays to a couple of running backs that aren't Travion Henderson-like.
Right. Well, and that's true. I think Fletcher is a little bit more of a between the tackles runner. The other piece of this that I think factors into that is Miami is really a zone-based run team for the most part. They don't run as much of the counter and that kind of stuff. What those teams are doing in those situations, those specific situations, was Ohio State in their penny front, the five. We'll get to the super chat in just a minute. The teams were Ohio State's in their penny front, which is the five, kind of five guys across the line of scrimmage, the defensive linemen. You got someone head up on the center. That will really tend to defend the zone run based scheme pretty well. What teams have been doing is putting, three guys, like put trips out to one side of the formation and then run counter the other direction. This what will happen is then you can sort of use that formation, that penny front against Ohio State. Now, Miami's not a real counter run team, so they're getting a little bit away from what they've done. Obviously, when I say they're not a counter run team, it doesn't mean they never run counter. It just means that's not like a primary thing. That they may be able to do that and hit something on that once or twice, but that's not going to be a real staple of their run game.
It also doesn't mean they won't cut back against the zone, the running back.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
There are some backside runs that are available.
Mike Ferguson says Tom should find the big red button and open the dome. Yeah, I would love to. It is a lovely day here in DFW, but they are going to keep the roof closed today. I'm quite certain. It was 60 degrees and sunny to here today.
Very nice.
So yeah, very very nice day. When we were here last year for the game, it was snowy and icy, and the buses were struggling to get to the stadium. And so this is already a big upgrade from last year's Cotton Bowl experience. Pass game for Ohio State. Miami has one of their corners. It's one of their starting corners out. Now, Miami has way more starting corners than a typical team, so I don't know that this is a huge red flag like it might be normally. But I think Miami's defensive backs are solid but not spectacular, which again, this is why we started the show by talking about the pass rush from Miami, because it feels like the pass rush from Miami is going to have as much or more to do with how they defend the pass than the defensive backs do.
Yeah. Damari Brown's the corner that is out. They've got a couple of others that have started throughout the season. Brown has started 6 games this year, so that tells you that other guys have started just as many, if not more. But they rotate. They're in there. They're aggressive because they are Miami corners. And if you're going to play at Miami, you got to be confident.
Do you need swagger?
You need some swagger, but you also need real confidence. And I think this team has more real confidence than past Miami teams.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the differences with this team and other Miami teams. But yeah, I mean, with those corners and the safeties, the freshman safety that we've seen makes the plays. He doesn't play as much as the other guys necessarily. So when he makes plays, his level of playmaking per snap is pretty high, but they'll rotate a bunch of guys. You never really know who's going to be out there. And I wonder for Julian Sayin, is he looking for particular guys in terms of or is there no real difference between Hoyser and Fitzgerald? Do they see them all the same, or is there a fish that they want to go after? When he's in, it's like that guy.
Yeah, I think the outside corners I look at as fairly interchangeable. The safeties, we have seen Jacoby Thomas, who is number 3 on the defense. We've seen him get hit a couple times. SMU was able to go after him a little bit, using formation, putting some receivers in the slot to get a matchup with him, get him in space, and then take advantage of that. Because he's not a bad safety, but if you get a safety in coverage against a wide receiver, that's generally a matchup the offense is going to be looking for. That's something I would just sort of keep in mind, and that may be you throw Jeremiah Smith in the slot, you throw Cardell Tate in the slot occasionally, take advantage of that. I mean, even Max Clare would be kind of an interesting matchup there.
I think the slot is going to be fascinating through this whole thing because Keontae Scott is the nickelback.
Yeah.
So Ohio State would rather have him in pass coverage than pass rushing, where he's second leading tackle for loss guy on the team, third leading sack guy. They don't want him in the backfield. They want to occupy him elsewhere. And I don't know. I do know that Ohio State would have the advantage with him against Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate. And that's no disrespect to Keontae Scott. That's just the reality of the situation of any nickelback and most cornerback.
Yeah, there are not. I mean, you look at where Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are going to get picked in the NFL draft. There are not many corners who are up at that level, and I have not seen projection. Miami on their defense, the guys you hear being talked about in that kind of area are Hakeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain, the defensive ends, much more so than the defensive backs. So then you look at the other side of it, and Miami's offensive line, of all the units on Miami's team, Miami's offensive line I look at, and it's like just seeing them in person at media day. There are guys like Ruben Bain is not as big as you're expecting him to be. Miami's offensive line is inside of the center, James Brockemeyer, who's a little under 300 pounds. I think he's 295. Kate McDonald is 326 if you were scoring at home. So that may be something to watch. But the rest of the offensive line, they're pretty big. There's a veteran group. It's, it is not, this is not the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, but this is an offensive line that could, at least fight Ohio State's defensive line to a stalemate.
Yeah, they're big. Tackles are mobile, some of the best tackles in the nation. So Ohio State's going to have their hands full. But so much of the talk of this game has been about Mesidor Bain. Very little of it has been about Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson. And I wonder if that's been brought to their attention or if they're aware of that, where all of the talk is about Miami's defensive ends. None of the talk is about Ohio State's defensive ends. And when we've mentioned that in the past, we've also wanted to throw Arbel Reese in there as
back up just a couple feet here. The field goal net is getting moved behind us, and
you almost took the camera.
Yeah.
So with that pass rush, the Ohio State pass rush, I also want to see Arbel Reese involved.
Yeah.
There's no reason to play contained the way he's been playing over the past 4 or 5 games. So now it's time to just, I wrote it today, let him go hunt.
Yep. Yeah, and this does feel like a game where Arbel Reese hasn't had a sack in 5 games, I think. So, yeah, this feels like a game where you're going to see him get out there and be a little more aggressive because they want to get after Carson Beck, and Carson Beck he can run the ball, but he can run the ball and pick up 4 yards or 6 yards. He's not going to get loose and run for 60 yards. That's not his game. His game is it's 2nd and 9. Everyone's covered. I'm going to go get 4 yards, so we're in 3rd and 5 instead of 3rd and 9. That's kind of where he is in terms of his mobility, which then opens things up a little bit for the Ohio State defense line. Got a quick super chat from Mike Ferguson. Can we play knocker ball at this game and put Michael Irvin in this one? Now, they do the Salvation Army kettles here, so there'd be a big inflatable Salvation Army kettle here. I did see those in one of the storage rooms underneath the stadium as I was walking around. So they are here. They're very sparkly this year. But they are here. But I'm not expecting that to be some of the novelty. Over under on Michael Irvin sideline shots, 12.5. Yeah, probably easily. Yes.
Because I was setting the line at 14.5 about a week ago, and then rewatching the Texas A&M games.
Now, it also may depend on how the game's going. If it's not going well for Miami, then you may not see Michael Irvin on the sideline.
We'll see. I don't know.
Depends on what he's doing.
Yeah, it's true. And it's always true of like Orbit here in the DFW area. So the run game for Miami, we've established a decent, if it's a decent offensive line. You got a solid back in Mark Fletcher, but they're like 70th in the nation in yards per carry. They've not hit a lot of big plays on offense through the air or through the ground. Ohio State had 15 plays of 30 yards or more. Miami had 7 this year. And both of these teams are pretty good at not giving up the big play. So I don't think Miami can rely on the big play to boost the yards per carry number in this one. Do we know? I saw someone in different form asking about if we know the exact kick time. The answer was 7:40 p.m. Eastern time. They listed as 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. Really, the official run of show. I put it on Twitter earlier as well as on the board at BuckeyeHuddle.com. The official kick time is 7:40 p.m. Eastern. So there's that. I don't see Miami being able to run the ball consistently for 5-6 yards. I don't think they're going to be able to stay on schedule and just going run, pass. You're going to have to mix things up. And if you can't rely on the threat of the run, that takes away the play action pass, which is something that Carson Beck has used pretty effectively. It to me feels like Miami is going to struggle to move the ball consistently because if they can't hit the big plays and they're going to have to really, really, really grind it out to stay on schedule, that's a real hard thing to do and work your way down the field in 8 to 10 play drives.
Well, I also think you'll see some wide screens to get the Ohio State defensive tackles a little tired.
Yeah.
So that maybe running the ball later on is easier to do. But I also think running screens against Ohio State, pass screens out wide, short receivers, I think Ohio State's going to do well stopping those because of their safeties and how aggressive and physical the corners could be breaking those things up. So it's nice that you want to do that, but you also have to pick up first down so that you can continue to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you only do it once or twice a possession, nobody's getting tired of it.
Yeah.
That's not wearing down Caden McDonald to run once over there and then go to the sideline after a punt.
Yeah. The use of tempo in this game is related to what we're just talking about. I'm expecting Ohio State to use some tempo in this game. And that is not you're running the Chip Kelly blur offense where you're snapping the ball with 32 seconds on the play clock every time. This is going to be, I think, an opportunity for Ohio State on offense to take, you have a nice run of 8 yards and maybe you hustle the line and you try and trap, or you're running those defensive linemen sideline to sideline and you run a play away from the Miami sideline and then you hustle the line of scrimmage and you can get another play off and maybe kind of stick those guys on the field. With the way Miami wants to play this game, we're again assuming Miami wants this game to be 13-10, 17-13, 20-17, and maybe the hose. That is people outside who they are piping in here because, sure, why not? If you're Miami, you want to run that clock. I don't know that Miami wants to use tempo. I mean, maybe a little bit. But I think Miami would be perfectly happy to have a bunch of 6-minute drives, 7-minute drives, rather than you go down the field and you score quickly, or you have a short drive, you punt quickly. I think Ohio State's going to be more likely to want to use tempo than Miami.
Yeah, Miami would like us to get 8 possessions a game.
Mike Ferguson would like more stat Michael Urban, please. And Jordan would like to know if we do a show where we read our insults towards you, that reserved for Miami fans. All done. Oh, there we go. All right, we got it. We're back. Jordan. Instead of being a show where you insult us, we're going to do a show where the wireless cuts out for absolutely no reason. So here we are.
We don't need to insult us.
Yeah.
We go through enough trouble and pain just trying to produce some of these things.
He does say, all jokes aside, thanks for slightly above average content here for 2026. Hey, we live to serve a year. We started the year in Pasadena with Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, ending the year with Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, and some consequential things happened in between those games as well. Man, oh man, this really does not need to be that loud. So thank you to Jordan for that. We are going to do our very best to power through this. I am looking right now for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are still not here from what I can tell on Twitter. We are going to ask you guys for a little bit of help. If you see stuff on Twitter that the Buckeyes are here, let us know. Video of the team getting in here. That will help us keep an eye out for it. Our plan when they get here is I'm going to take my camera and go over there and try and live stream some video of those guys in the hallway coming out onto the field. I will try to narrate for you what's going on. Tony's not going to be able to hear me. So if my wireless mic cuts out as I go over there, you will have to let us know in the chat and say, hey, we can't hear Tom, and then Tony will have to talk. So we're going to need you guys. You guys are going to be our show producers.
Produce the show,
Thank you
please.
very much. We'll try and figure out how to send a reverse super chat for your time and your job skills. So that's coming up at some point. Still not here right now. So now they are 25 minutes late and haven't seen any case in Miami.
We want to fix the questions.
Yeah. Rick says the audio sounds like we're calling in from the space station, but you can understand them. Yeah, we're talking loudly. The background audio is not helping us right now.
Right, the mics are trying to stifle all of this going on right now while still picking us. It's not conducive to a decent quality product with decent quality people from decent quality people.
Slightly above average people, as to use the line from earlier.
That's the reason we're the only show going right now.
Yeah, I think that is probably true. And we'll see how long we go. I'm hoping they get here and we can maybe we wrap it up with the Buckeyes getting here, depending on when that actually happens. I will also let you know. I said this earlier. I'm going to let you know. I see one of the Ohio State staffers running that way, so that might be an indication that the team is at least 5 minutes or so from getting here. So that is a positive sign. People. Okay. Oh yeah, Miami plays in a ride. So we'll here. I'll let you. That's the offensive one. Is that Inez Cooper? The offensive one. I think it might be. Yeah. So Miami is here. Buckeyes hopefully will be here shortly. It is these game days. We love the predictability of these game days. Yes.
You have the best of intentions, and nobody else will work with us on making those intentions come to fruition. But we thank you guys for powering through with us.
Yeah. Christopher says, watching from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Proud of you, Gabe Van Sickle. So, yeah, that's Gabe Van Sickle, a Michigan native. He is ahead of where you would have sort of expected. Because he was not someone who came in as a five-star guy. Or that he was someone who, was reasonably highly talented. I mean, we're not. Yeah. Were they in the same class? Were they both 20? No, they're a year. Yes, and Cerebell was in his third year. Yeah, so 1 year behind, but very much that same crack where. And you see Austin Cerebell starting left tackle this season. You can see Miami players walking. There we go, walking behind us right there. So the Hurricanes are here. We'll take a look. I'll see if I see anyone noteworthy, and we'll pop the camera. We'll pop the camera over there and let you take a look at those guys as they come on in. Troy wants to know which one of us is on confetti patrol after the game. I have not thought about that. It's this is a first round game. It's not. We didn't do that for the Rose Bowl last year. Right? So well, did we have Rose Bowl? No, we had caught.
We also had. Where were the footballs from? Is that this?
That was the national championship, I think. Yeah, the confetti here last year was kind of like blue and purple, and so
look, our bags are so full of stuff. I don't know that we can handle any more stuff.
If you read the children's story, The Mitten, that's basically our luggage on this trip because we didn't want to check a bag. So making noise for the sake of making noise at this point. Looking to see if there's anyone. So if I see Carson back over
yeah, it may be a little bit before the Buckeyes get out here. Miami's here now.
Yeah. So have we talked about? We have not talked about the Miami passing game, really. I'm not expecting Miami to be able to run the ball. Miami's going to have it. I think Miami's ideal offense would be throw the ball 15 times to Malachi Tony 5 yards down the field and hope he breaks tackles. I just don't think he's going to be able to do that. I think this is an Ohio State defense that is sound enough in terms of tackling, in terms of scheme, in terms of not busting on, what's the wide receiver's going to throw a pass. Like, it's just been really sound on that stuff all year. Kept good leverage. I just think Miami's going to have to really kind of grind things out. And maybe Malachi Tony can have a play or two where he catches a pass 3 yards downfield and turns it into 20 or 30. But they're not going to be able to live on that. And it's going to be hard if you can't run the ball and you can't throw the ball for more, you're throwing 4-yard passes that are turning into 5-yard gains. That's going to be a hard thing to sustain drive.
Well, I guess you could factor in the short pass to Tony running games.
Yeah.
And then to add that together, that's 145, 150 yards, then that's a successful day for Miami. And they could sustain those games. But also, you're still going to need to pick up those third short where Ohio State is very, very good. And Miami could do either thing there. They can run or pass. And we've seen First Back. He completes passes, but he doesn't always complete them accurately. And they're high, they're low. We're not always in a place to allow a receiver to pick up that 3 yards, that 2 yards. And I'll get to the first yard, but you need to get the other two. He doesn't always put it there for them.
Yeah, from my perspective, this one West Miami players work out without shirts saying they don't mind the weather and the screen. It's possible.
Possibility.
Contributed to Houston, put this towards a new mic. Yeah, it is. Yeah. We are working within the. We do have new mics. They are actually better than if we were shooting this off.
Again,
so that's
nobody else is doing a show right now. There's a reason.
Yeah.
We're doing this for you. I'm not doing a darn thing for myself. This is for you people.
6-3 Buckeye sisters. Ryan Day have a good look in his eye. I mean, I saw a lot of people talking about the smirk on his face at various times during the press conference yesterday, being an indication that he felt like, he probably felt like they were in a good spot. Now, a lot of that tends to be, if they win, that's what that is. If they lose, then it means he wasn't taking it seriously. So, I'm hesitant to say that they, yeah, for sure. He knows they're going to win by a huge amount of points, but you do get the sense that they're confident coming in here. But you got the sense they were somewhat confident going into the end game too.
Confidence is blind. Overconfidence is confidence. And I don't view him as overconfident, especially as much as he's had to put into and the staff has had to put into this game without Brian Hartline's issue and going back and forth. So, and coming off of that loss, I can't imagine anybody coming off of a loss and thinking, we cannot be beat. We are so good.
Well, I think this is the second year in a row that they're coming into the playoffs off the loss. And we saw what the response was last year. I'm starting to come around to the idea that going in off a loss is not the worst thing. And then it forces you to address it's not, well, this could be better, but we keep winning, so maybe don't mess with a good thing. Then you got to kind of rip the Band-Aid off to a certain degree. And that was certainly what you heard in retrospect after the college football playoff run that they had last year, that loss to Michigan ultimately was a beneficial thing because it forced them to address some issues that had been sort of lingering and address an approach. In this case, that approach to me feels like it might happen from the 10-yard line and hit on the Miami side of the field. Because we have seen all year so much 13 personnel, 14 personnel, the 3 and 4 tight end looks, and they're going to just outman you, they're going to outstrength you, they're going to just run it down your throat, and they're going to take Darnell Tate and or Jeremiah Smith off the field in order to do it. I think that one of the lessons they may take from that Big Ten championship game is maybe don't do that. Because it hasn't worked great. You've failed inside the 5 several times the last couple of games. You got away with it against Michigan, so you didn't need to change it. Well, then you didn't get away with it against Indiana, and it cost you the game.
Yeah, better to learn from your lesson. If Brian Day wants to learn from him and wins, sometimes you don't, because when you lose,
For Miami players coming out here. I'm looking for people that you guys can recognize. Because we've only talked about Miami's tight end twice this week, so I don't know that you'll be that excited to see him walking behind us. I did see someone say that they saw Dom Taveri walking behind us. Yes, Dom is right over there. Their show is not on yet, but they're getting ready to do something. Probably, I'm guessing, on the news.
People gathering around us as if I was
Yeah.
here too.
And when they do, we'll go over there, and I will try and get y'all looking at those guys. And again, when I head over there, when it's just Tony, make sure you are letting him know in the chat what's going on, because it will be very difficult for him to hear. If you can't hear me, let him know, and I will try and monitor the chat as well when I go over there. So yeah, there's a. So Jill says she's hearing the Buckeyes have been quiet rage 5, got to play better than against Indiana. Yeah, for sure. That is I think they're focused. I think they're coming in focused. This is not a team that they're overlooking, because you've heard enough national folks, especially, talking about this being a team that can beat Ohio State. And Ohio State doesn't hear about themselves as this team could beat you very often.
Well, I did hear the deputy said line has dropped 10 points.
Yeah.
Just in like the last hour or two.
Yeah.
So Ryan will build a team then.
Yeah, maybe not. But
It's the confident Ohio State. Don't want it overconfident. I don't know that we've seen an overconfident Ohio State team. I don't know that they were against Indiana. That was just a convergence of many different things going forward.
we love it when they're on schedule. Folks, they should have been here 35 minutes ago now. I'm going to guess they're probably here and just not out right now. I know that there was a question as to who the officials for this conference for this game are going to be. SEC officials is what I just saw on Twitter.
Is that good news or bad news for Ohio State?
Well, the person before asked if it was ACC officials, so this is better than ACC officials. I'm sure you're going to have Georgia or Ole Miss would much prefer to play Miami rather than Ohio State, so you'll have that whole thing.
Big Ten officials don't call holding.
Yeah.
So I think this is beneficial for Ohio State in that you have officials that may call holding.
Yeah.
Now, no hold.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, was it Big 12 official for the 2019 Fiesta Bowl? I think so. Yeah, I think that's right. So I'm just sort of thinking through and going, well, they can't have Big 10 officials. You can't have ACC officials. You've seen what Big 12 officials can do in a Big 12 football playoff game. So I'm not sure there is a winning answer here. So the Messidor walking behind us right now. Right there. That's I believe that is the key Messidor, the defensive end. Not pretty big. So just looking through the comments real quick. Yeah, we'll talk about Indiana's offensive line and defensive line. I mean, this is not an Ohio State defensive line or offensive line. They have the test. Now, how did the test go last time for the offensive line? Not great, not tremendous, but I think in the past you've seen people talk about Miami as, oh boy, you've never seen a team like this. And Ohio State has seen teams like this. Indiana was, I think, in the trenches statistically in a lot of ways. A lot of the areas that Miami is very good at, Indiana is also very good at, making better at. And now Ohio State's kind of going through that, so I'm probably benefiting. I've never seen the team come out more in 1 and 2 people than Miami right now. It's crazy.
Walk around.
Yep. Sort of the end. That is the sideline over there. I'm going to give you a quick look around the stadium just while we have a moment before the Buckeyes get here. And then this is the Ohio State end zone. This will be on the right. This is as you're watching on TV. This will be the right side of the field. Just kind of look at behind us there. You see the other end zone, the Miami end zone. The camera position, the other side of the field, side that says Ohio right there in the end zone. That's not the side of the camera position. That will be the Ohio State sideline over there. on that far sideline of the field. I saw people asking about crowd mix. I saw people asking about, is this going to be a sellout or not? I'm not expecting that to be. I'm not expecting a sellout, but it should be a pretty good crowd. We're not 4,000 pairs of tickets on StubHub. It was about 700 or so pairs of tickets on StubHub. You're going to have, as prices continue to drop, you're going to have people who buy. You're going to have people who go and buy on here.
So you could also have people like nosebleeds moving down.
Yeah.
That's just about the fans are already coming in, but look up in the top, not a lot. Now that's a mixture on the security allows.
And this is where the Ohio State section is. Over there, you can see the red towels on the seats, and then the Ohio State marching band sitting up there in the corner. That's where they are. So that's where they will be for the game. Miami should have their band here as well. I don't think I've seen the Miami band yet, but they should be here. I think they're in that far corner back there. Very hard to see, but yeah, like right there where the sun is shining. See what looks like a bass drum up there. That would be where the Miami band is. Let's see. But we'll still be live. Like you're not. Yeah, that's fine. That's a win. I will take that as long as that's going. Again, things are going great.
Well, the fans play 70-30 Ohio State. The teams right now 100-0 Miami.
Yeah. Which if that continues, yeah. Okay, here we go. So there are some Buckeyes. We're going to leave this camera right here so you can sort of see the field, and then I'm going to pop my camera up here in a minute. And then what we'll do is I'm going to okay. Things are not cooperating. We're gonna have a little yeah, we're gonna take we'll take you over here and let you see the Buckeyes as they are coming out in the tunnel. Dom over there. The Buckeyes, the tunnel the Buckeyes come out of, walk across here. If we drop out, we will apologize and thank you for being here. We're again waiting for the Buckeyes to come out here. We have seen a couple players come out already. The first guy out of the tunnel always are specialists. They are on the field already. This is coming out any minute now. We'll see. Here comes CJ Barnett and a couple staffers. Probably we will probably drop out of here in just a few minutes. Here we go. Here's some players now. So this is wide receivers, tight ends. You see Jelani Thurman there, Will Kasmerick, Nate Roberts, Ben Christian, Max Clare, Bo Jackson, Tony Alford, and Devin Jordan. Some of the assistants there. Let you look out at the field here. Get you a little look at the field and see who's out there. We're going to wrap this up in probably just a couple minutes, because I know, at least on my screen, it looks a little fuzzy. Let me know. Yeah, it looks like it's fuzzy for you guys. Yeah, the Wi-Fi in the corners of the stadium not as good as where we were. That's why we moved over to where we are. But we'll let you get a look here for a few more minutes. John Furlman, the long snapper, he's coming out. He's got his jersey. This John Furlman. the fans. It's Bo Jackson closest to us there in the front row. Jelani Thurman is left. Guys just sort of coming out and doing some very initial warm-ups right now. This is the Snow Brian Day out here, so that mean Brian Day is on his way. If you look up at the board, that is Shaquille O'Neal up there on the board. He is here in his role as DJ Diesel, DJing before the game. You tell everyone is waiting for the same thing that we are. No group of Ohio State meetings for the Buckeyes to come out of the tunnel. It should be any minute now, I promise. We're coming up on 45 minutes after they were expected to be pulling into the stadium. This is pretty late, but they are. The teams are here. That's a positive thing. So we will. I will let you know right now. Take a minute to hit the thumbs up for us on this video. That will help us help other folks find it. Also, please take a second and after we're done here, check out the behind the scenes video. There goes Joe McGuire, the punter. Take a second to check out the behind the scenes video from field level. Posted that a little earlier. If you want a nice clear 4K video of field level here, that is what you're looking for. Kind of take you on a 360-degree tour of the field at field level, looking at the benches, up close to the field, all the kind of stuff you guys don't generally get. So you can find that on our YouTube channel. Just waiting on guys to come out of the tunnel at this point. Waiting for people to come out of the tunnel. To look back at the field for a few minutes. Now we were about 90 minutes to kick off. The official kickoff time, the actual kickoff time is 7:40 p.m. And about 1.5. The offensive line coaches. Marcus Johnson, here comes Tim Walton. Quarterbacks coach. Now I see players coming out. So thank you guys again for joining us. We'll get you a video of these guys come out. Saying right out in front here. Let's go, boys. Oh.